excited. I'm excited to hear one of our neighboring districts from Anaheim Union, Santana Unified, to be with us to share their problem of practice. So very excited. So many colleagues that we work with, locally, and one of my faves, my favorita, mi amiga, Doctora Susi Lopez Guerra. She's the Director of Community Relations, and I'm going to turn it over to her so she can share and her on behalf of Santana, and share her colleagues who's going to be joining her. So, Susi, sale, vámonos.
Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. As always, it's a pleasure to be here, and we want to thank everyone for your grace in allowing us to be some of the last to present. It's been quite an interesting last couple of months, so we are here today to present our problem of practice. We're Santa Ana Unified School District. We'll talk a little bit about our district in a little bit, but our team, next slide, please, Elizabeth. Our team consists of Dr. Lorraine Perez, our Deputy Superintendent, Elisa Briceño Sandoval, our interim FACE coordinator, Dr. Carrie Brown, who's the principal of Garfield Elementary, Leslie Mondragon, our FACE liaison, Veronica Gomez, our parent at Garfield Elementary. And believe me, today's conversation really hit home as we're trying to reflect. And this is just the people who we are part of with the CEI, but in no way are they reflective of the entirety of these efforts for FACE. So our problem of practice is that the majority of our administrators lack the foundational understanding of what constitutes a highly effective family and community engagement practice and the impact that it has on education. We have been struggling with a belief system of, as my colleague says, a pobrecito, a sympathizing. And one of the opportunities that we're trying to gain from the participation in CEI is to strengthen the skills of our administrators so that they can effectively engage our families, effectively, respectively, work with them so that they can become partners in our students' education, right? So part of what we've been doing with this onboarding is developing structures to support our administrators and move the needle so that they can truly understand what family and community engagement is as an educational piece, and not so much as a deficit filling in gaps that they perceive are part of our students' educational experience. So here's the core cause. There's a lack of understanding on what constitutes highly effective family and community engagement, which relates directly back to the core cause that we believe family or parent involvement are these one-offs, these random acts of involvement, or as Sergio was saying, these we call upon you to get this. But parents, and I go back and I really struggle with language, but families, and we need to change that discourse ourselves, need to understand that they are as important, and if not more, as we know, part of the village that our students need in order to reach their social and emotional potentials. So part of what we're struggling right now are implicit biases on who our families are and what they need or want from us, their role in our students' education, and the understanding their capacity, leveraging their cultural, linguistic input into supporting our students. So now I'm going to ask Elisa to go ahead and take it on from here. Elisa, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. And, really excited, to be here this morning and share a little bit about the work that we did in terms of our problem of practice. And for us, what we identified as our root causes of our problem of practice were really closely aligned to a lot of the areas that we've seen throughout in terms of, the dual capacity framework, which is the framework that we've been utilizing since the inception of family and community engagement. So one of the root causes has been, we have had, and to no fault to either, our principals or administrators or anyone else, but there has been a lack of professional development as it relates to the practice of FACE. And oftentimes what happens is that, of course, our principals may feel unprepared due to the lack of these professional development opportunities, as well as having strong examples of what constitutes an effective strategy for family and community engagement. Another area is definitely sometimes their students are not seen holistically as part of a family unit or a community, right? It's the student is in the school site and they belong in the school site when they're there, and at the home it's a separate individual, it's a separate entity, and they're not seen as part of that family unit, and how important it is to really involve families as we do family and community engagement for better outcomes. The other area that we saw was that sometimes in family community engagement, we see that it's not seen as a strategy, that should be utilized, throughout in the classroom as a practice, effective practice. And we also see that principals may not know how family and community engagement actually impacts a student academically and social emotionally. So a lot of the research that many of us that are doing this work know of, a lot of our principals are not aware of. And lastly, our principals may have developed that deficit mindset that Susie referred to towards families. So that was one of the key areas, one of the root causes that we identified for a problem of practice. The second root cause is there is a lack of alignment across departments and at school sites for the practice of family and community engagement. So for this, what we were referring to is that family and community engagement has not been systemically embedded across the entire school district, across all departments. And sometimes there's a little bit of the miscommunication in terms of what are really our defined family and community engagement goals. Where do we have to do more alignment in terms of embedding that practice throughout all of our departments? And also, it does come back to, again, family and community engagement is an instructional strategy, and it's something that we should be embedding, throughout all of our departments, as well as all of our school sites and all of our classrooms. And the third root cause that we identified was a lack of examples of family and community engagement in practice. And what we were defining with this is, sometimes for us, there's a lot of theory, right, around family and community engagement, what it should look like, what it could look like. And sometimes for some of us, it's difficult to conceptualize, what am I supposed to be doing to be an effective practitioner? So one of the areas that we were brainstorming about was how do we identify, model school sites that are already embedding a lot of the practices of family and community engagement to then be able to provide opportunities for other principals to learn from their experiences and really develop these professional learning communities for school sites. And the fourth root cause that we identified is the inability to demonstrate through data how family and community engagement makes an impact academically. So that's one of our definite areas of growth is how do we strengthen the way that we are tracking, our efforts in family and community engagement and how it directly correlates with seeing, better outcomes in terms of attendance, in terms of grades, in terms of behavior. So that was another area for us. So as we were thinking about these root causes, these were the top, we actually identified 12 different strategies, but these were the top 5 strategies that we voted for as a team in terms of what could be some of our goals and our strategies for being able to address this problem of practice. So our first strategy, and we put in some tentative dates in here, by February 2023, the FACE leadership team will create professional development for administrators in the following content areas: the 4 core belief systems, equity, cultural awareness, learning your own biases and triggers, dual capacity framework, and asset-based mindset. So the idea with this is to really start to provide these professional development opportunities for our administrators and eventually to, allow that opportunity for teachers and for other staff across the department. Our second strategy that we developed was by April of 2022, the FACE leadership team will more highly communicate with administrators in regards to department updates, best practices, opportunities for professional development, impact reports, and department goals. So again, this actually addresses directly the alignment piece that we were discussing in our previous slide. And how do we really do that alignment in terms of the practice of family and community engagement throughout the school district? Our third strategy was by April 2022, the FACE team will define FACE department goals based on board priorities. So we have been in the process in the last few months of, based on our board priorities, really coming up with SMART goals around family and community engagement, since we are one of the board priorities. And we're working on making sure that within these goals, that of course we highly communicate out to all the stakeholders, but also, that our principals are involved, in the process of being able to also set up some of their own family and community engagement goals at their school sites. The fourth strategy was by February 2023, the FACE leadership team will develop a Google site of FACE tools. So then this again goes into how do we share out best practices? How do we provide PowerPoint presentations, workshops, infographics, guides and tools that our principals and administrators can utilize to consistently elevate their practice of FACE at their school sites. And the fifth strategy that we came up with was by February 2023, the FACE leadership team will work closely with schools that are embedding the practice of FACE to document effective practices and include them in our Google site, social media, and our newsletter. So this, we do have a lot of our school sites that are already, developing a lot of amazing strategies, and a lot of administrators are doing a lot of great work around family and community engagement. So we really want to highlight them, and we really want to share with others their best practices. And lastly, for our stakeholder groups, besides our CEI team, we did have just recently brought on board a cohort of FACE specialists that also supported in the work in terms of helping us define the strategies as well as a problem of practice. So this was our stakeholder group that helped define all this work. And so that is our problem of practice, our strategies, and some of the core causes that we were able to identify from Santa Ana Unified School District. Thank you.
Amazing presentation by Santa Ana Unified, very reflective, very vulnerable, and we so appreciate you guys spending the time sharing in your journey.
Gracias.